What impact did the pandemic have on domestic violence cases? I know stalking, domestic violence the cases went up massively, which like a lot of people were surprised about, but when you actually think about it, it was a lockdown. People were literally trapped in houses with the perpetrator.
Yeah, and even where they'd separated, victims couldn't go to work, they couldn't access help, so they felt, they were particularly vulnerable, and perpetrators knew that. They knew where the victim was going to be, for the vast majority of the time. Also, perhaps the perpetrator maybe wasn't working, maybe been furloughed and suddenly had all this time on his hands. And again, if you're dealing with somebody who's obsessed and fixated, if you suddenly give that person another 6 hours to their day, well, obviously they're going to use those 6 hours to obsess about the victim. So I think all of those things combined. And I know a lot of women felt as though they couldn't even report it to the police at that time. A lot of them would say, well, I didn't want to waste the time, because that's how they feel when they report. But particularly when the pandemic started, I think that they felt that what was happening to them wasn't important enough. And that the police had all of these other things to do, when the reality wasn't actually like that. I mean, I've spoken to police officers that said when the pandemic struck, really, we didn't have that much to do. In terms of how they would normally be being contacted by the public. But certainly the number of incidents just went through the roof. And to be honest, it's not really gone down a great deal in my experience, in terms of the number of calls that we're getting. And, all of this is made worse by the waiting, of the court system, etc., not just the criminal court system, but the family court system as well. There's a huge backlog in terms of cases, which has meant that, that they're taking much, much longer to resolve, which again is much more stressful for victims.